Welcome to Disengaged, the podcast. I'm Leah Harding, your host. You guys, this was a very big weekend for Florida Gator fans and White Lotus watchers. It was a packed weekend. I'm tired right now. I'm very sleepy. But here we are. We made it. When I was watching the game on Monday night with some friends, and Florida was, obviously behind because Florida loves to do that kind of a thing. And then we came around. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I've got my Gator shirt on. I've been wearing this around all day long. I've gotten a few Gator chomps. And last night, oh my gosh, I was on edge. But we pulled through. We did it. All this to say, at the end of the game, I was watching with someone from Houston. And she was sad. Okay, like the rest of Texas, they were all sad. Kind of love it as a Florida fan, but what I wanted to say, my gut response wanted to say, I'm sorry. But then I'm like, I'm actually not sorry about that. And that sounds harsh, but it's something that I've been thinking about, is we say sorry far too much for things that we don't actually feel sorry about. Am I actually sorry that Houston lost? No way. No way am I actually sorry about that. That's great news. I'm very, very pleased with that outcome. But to say sorry, if I said I'm sorry your team had to be the one to lose, that feels more real. But just to throw out sorry, it's we don't need to do that. We don't need to live like that. And this is I was going to talk about this on the pod anyway. And then when the game finished and Florida won, I was like, okay, we're definitely going to bring this up on the pod because it is so applicable. I think we have a problem as a society, especially as women. We are addicted to saying sorry. We love saying sorry. We do it subconsciously and we say it all the time, and it's infuriating. I've tried very, very hard to identify the fact that A, I do it, and B, that I can replace it with another word like excuse me, or that must be hard, or thank you. Sometimes when people try to do something nice for you, hold the door open and you rush to go and meet them. Often people will say, oh, sorry. And it's no, what you mean is thank you. You know what I mean? So at the Gator game last night, I really wasn't sorry. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad we won. I was a senior in college when we made it to the Final Four the last time. So that was 2014. And to now be in grad school and having Florida do this again, it's yes, this is amazing. Maybe I should go back to school more often. There's also some really funny memes going out there that the last time the Florida Gators won, there was a recession. So they won in 2007. Who knows? Anyway, I digress, as Leah does best. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of saying sorry and wanting to know if I really actually mean it, and why is that something that we should even come on this pod and talk about. So saying sorry implies wrongdoing, even if there's nothing you're actually doing wrong. And so when you say sorry, you're immediately making yourself smaller. Again, this is for the times when you don't actually mean it. The time where you use it kind of more as a filler word. I'm not saying if you slap someone, you shouldn't say I'm sorry. And you tell this to kids, you need to say you're sorry. You need to try to find a way to make your inner being feel like you mean it. It's important to say sorry. So that aside, I'm talking about the times when we shouldn't be saying it, because I think we say it far too much, far too often. And so it's admitting a wrongdoing that's not actually wrong. And it weakens our I'm sorries when we actually mean them. If you're saying I'm sorry 10 times in a day, that 11th time when you actually do mean it, it's going to feel cheap, because I don't know, why would I take your sorry seriously when I hear you say it all the time? And that's not so much as keeping a record of everyone else, they always say I'm sorry or whatever. I think it's an internal thing. I think you have to think about it for yourself. Am I that person who says I'm sorry 10 times and that 11th time is when I mean it? I think that word is sacred in a way because, especially as women or any type of a minority or a non-traditional white male in life, I think there's a propensity to say I'm sorry as a way to avoid any type of conflict. And I mean white men as well, of course. But I think if you're trying to get by and you're trying to do a thing, especially if you're facing opposition for doing it in the first place, I was really young in the newsroom when I first started as a journalist. In an international newsroom, I was 22. Like, that's so baby. And, when I would make mistakes, I would try to just say, okay, thank you for letting me know. Or how would you have done it differently? Instead of just resorting to I'm sorry. Because I'm sorry in those cases are kind of like rolling over on your back and just like surrendering because you don't want to deal with a way you could do it better or with any type of a repercussion. And so just to say sorry, it's kind of like, hey, I don't want to talk about this, but we need to talk about this. We need to figure out ways that we can be better and do better. And I think that's an important distinction to make about this obsessive I'm sorry usage. Saying sorry can be used as a way to avoid conflict, but that can often come at your own expense. Like I'm saying, I think especially for women in marginalized groups. So if you are just resorting to saying I'm sorry, you're actually robbing yourself from learning even more. Picture 22-year-old Leah in that newsroom. If I did live by I'm sorry, I wouldn't have learned all of those other things about how I could have done something better. I had a news director once who his motto, he had it printed out and framed on his wall, was make better mistakes tomorrow. And I love that because saying sorry for something when you're learning, I don't think is a real apology. I think the question is, how could I do something different? And being vulnerable and open to having someone actually give you the feedback to make you better. Another type of sorry that I see a lot, especially in school, is saying sorry before you contribute to a thought or an opinion. An example, I'm in this law class right now with a very, very legit teacher. The professor is Cambridge Press published. He worked on the National Security Advisory Council. He worked with the Clinton administration, among others. Like, this guy has made it to the top. And when he asks us questions in this class, most of the time, people start off by saying, oh, I'm sorry, but I just don't get why X, Y, or Z. And something that he's been very quick to say is, do not start your phrase, your sentence, your question with I'm sorry, because it actually diminishes anything else you're going to say after that. And it's so true. It is an addiction, like I said, and I think it's a little bit of a safety blanket because there's this lack of confidence in what I'm about to say. But that's like not listening to your gut and your inner voice and not having the confidence that you and your perception could be right. Or not even right or wrong. It's worth sharing. It's part of who you are, and it's going to make whoever's listening learn something more about you, or else, be challenged in their way of thinking or grow in their understanding of a topic. And I just think it's sad that we think we should start off by dampening our own knowledge. It's crazy when you will start to hear it more and more, and it's shocking how prevalent this is. And it just shrinks us. It's like saying, I'm not actually confident in what I'm about to say, so let me say it anyway. And it makes me dependent on validation from external factors to know if I can do that again, instead of having the internal factor be the reason that you're doing it. Do you see what I'm saying? If I say sorry and then I have a good statement, what I'm subliminally saying is I want the listener to say, oh no, Leah, you shouldn't be sorry for that. That's awesome. Or no, that's a good idea. But really, that's me asking for permission and also for validation if what I'm saying is even worthwhile to someone else. Like, we need to cut that out. We're not going to be obsessive I'm sorryers, okay? So I think recognizing times that we do this is a huge step in the direction of stopping, because we don't need that external validation. What we need to be working on, what I'm working on, is telling myself, no, what you're about to say means something. And if someone disagrees, that's okay. If someone says that's actually not the case, that's okay. It's about taking risks, and it's about building that inner voice one step at a time. The next time you go to say something that's a little bit out of maybe the norm, it's not like, you're just with your friends trying to talk, but you're in a place where if you speak, it's kind of a representation of what you're learning or what you think or what you believe, or just you're communicating with someone and you have something that you want to say. Catch yourself if you start thinking as a way to enter into that conversation is by saying, I'm sorry. Because that's what we do a lot. I know I do that a lot. I've been trying for months to cut that out. But if we're in a group and I feel like I need to start the conversation off by saying, I'm sorry, think of how that comes across. That's like me saying, I don't think I actually belong here. And it's kind of like asking for permission to even exist or have thoughts. Because if you're saying I'm sorry or I don't know, not only are you showing yourself to be a little bit smaller than the person that you're talking to, you're also sending this message that I'm not sure of myself. So then why would a superior want to take a chance on me and have me be in more of a leadership role if I'm not even sure of what I'm about to say, or even sure about the fact that I am here for a reason and I have authority? Like, it takes you out of so many rooms if you start your words, your sentences with I'm sorry. And I think saying I'm sorry is just like a prerequisite exit clause that we have in our brains. Like, if this is too much, if I'm going to take up too much space or have too big of an idea, just so you know, I'm sorry about it in advance. And it's like, well, where's the ownership in that? Like, where's the risk taking in that? Where's the bravery? Where's the self-advocacy? And also, is it even true? Are you actually sorry that you are now speaking and sharing information with me? If you're actually sorry, then don't do it. It seems like, duh. Like, if you are sorry to be speaking, then don't speak. Or when people say like, well, I'm sorry, but it's like, no, I don't think you're sorry. I think you're saying what I think you mean is you have a good idea. However, I'm going to share my idea, because ultimately confidence is contagious. If you are constantly shrinking yourself, then other people are also going to feel small, or they're going to feel like they can walk all over you. And we don't want any of that, right? Like, we are strong, powerful, independent people with voices and things to share and ways and ideas to contribute to society. We do not need to be holding back from those things. Be courageous. Take the risk. Say the thing that you are afraid to say, because that is actually giving other people a platform to do the same. If you're on a team and you do this, this allows other people to stand up and actually give their perspective. Like with my cohort right now, we're planning this panel with some different guests and whatnot, and I've shot quite a few ideas down. And at first, I feel like people weren't really shooting things down. It was kind of like, yeah, sure. And now I think people are starting to kind of get into it a bit more and say, I don't like that. No, not a great idea. What about this? Do this better. Here's some edits. And everyone is starting to contribute a lot more. And you know what? No one is saying I'm sorry before they're talking. Like, that's huge, especially in a cohort with women where we kind of want to be a little smaller. I would love to know what that would look like if we had like some more experienced, powerful men in the group how that dynamic might change. My hope is that it wouldn't, but I do think there would be more of a likelihood to be like, well, I think, or I'm sorry, but this. And it's like, nope, we don't do that. We do not operate like that. Your language shapes your mindset. The way you speak dictates how you see yourself. It's a projection of how you see yourself. And it also informs others of how they should be seeing you. And if we're shrinking down, if we're saying sorry, because there's so many forms of shrinking down, but I think an easy one to pinpoint and to try to tackle would be this phrase, I'm sorry, or sorry, but. And we, as this pod fam, in your friend groups, with your family, we are loved. We are cared for. We have people in our lives that cherish us. And I think when you're in those safe spaces and you don't feel like you have to apologize for even being there, that is who you really are. You already belong in these settings, even if you feel like you don't. Michelle Obama had this great line once in an interview that I was listening to about the imposter syndrome, how she just felt like, what? Like, I'm at a table with, Queen Rania of Jordan, and I mean, I'm just trying to think of other like powerful first ladies. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Sorry for drawing a blank. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry I'm drawing a blank. My brain is full of a lot of other things. But anyway, she was saying, it took her a while to realize that everyone at that table was just playing a role. She's at these tables with heads of states and dignitaries and spouses, and she was feeling like maybe I need to shrink back or be like, well, she's new to the table and say, oh, sorry, like I just wanted to say, like, thank you for having me. And it's like, no, if we eliminate those words, it helps us also retrain our brain that we're not imposters. We belong, our feet are on the ground, and we're taking up space, and we don't feel bad about it. But it's uncomfortable. Oh, it's uncomfortable. And then, like, what I have found is in those settings, like when I'm more bold and I'm at the big kids table, if you will, and I'm not apologizing or anything, I often, after the fact, have like this power hangover kind of a thing where I then want to go to someone else who was at that table and say, hey, I'm sorry, but like, sorry if I was like really bold at that dinner. Like, sorry if that was like too much. And it's like, no, we're still on the don't say sorry for this clause and train, even after the fact. You'll notice you might do that because that's something that I also do. Like, sorry, was I too bold in that text group? It's like, why can't you just ask the question without saying sorry? I know I'm belaboring a point. You guys are like, okay, Leah, we get it. But I just think all of these different examples and different ways in which we do it help us recognize it in the moment. So like any addiction, not that I'm an addiction expert, but like in AA, the first step, right, is acknowledging it. So just knowing that it's a thing is so helpful in this journey of removing unnecessary sorries from your vocabulary. And I think a way also to do that, like with addiction, is you have a substitute behavior. And instead of saying sorry, or sorry, as some people say, like Anne with an E. Did you guys ever watch that? Sorry. And I'm like, what? It's like how people from, I think, the Pacific Northwest, a lot of them say sorry. If my friend Jen is listening to this, she's from Washington State, and she says sorry, and I give her a hard time about it. But anyway, I digress. So having a phrase, I think that's you can replace it with is really helpful. So like, excuse me or pardon me. Like I said earlier, saying thank you is often an appropriate replacement for saying sorry. Let me explain. You're given a little gift and nothing big. Someone like remembered something and you know that they've been really busy and they give you a gift. This has happened to me. This is a true story. I get the gift and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, you've gone out of your way to do this. Like, you didn't need to do that. Like, sorry if I know you were like super busy. Like, sorry you were focusing on me. Wrong answer. In that moment, saying thank you and accepting that graciously, I think is a good substitute for that type of a sorry, because there's so many different categories as we're learning. And what that also does, the same with the power I'm sorry, the thankful I'm sorry, also leaves me feeling very vulnerable. Like, oh, shoot, I just said thank you. I didn't apologize for possibly being annoying or difficult for them. But that's not the point. They're coming to you with a gift. You don't need to belittle the gift or the giver or yourself by saying sorry. I know I sound like a broken record. How many times has Leah said sorry in this podcast? A lot. And I'm going to probably say it a few more times. Also, if you're on the YouTube, you can see our rebranding. I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I know it was fun to put together. My producer and I were working on it, which brings me to the comment from my producer, which is when I was talking about this idea, this thought for not saying sorry as a podcast episode, and I gave my reasoning, and I like to do like a little like outline or whatnot of what I want to talk about. And a huge spiel that I went on was like not having to say sorry when you like bump someone on the street, like when you're, it's a busy street and you go and bump shoulders, or you're in someone's way a little bit. I was like, you shouldn't be saying sorry for that. You can be saying excuse me. And he was like, no, that's when you say sorry. And I'm like, no, I don't think you need to always be saying sorry with that. Like, and he's like, okay, good point. And something that he brought up was like in New York City, if you had to say sorry for every time you bumped shoulders with someone, you would be saying sorry all the time. Part of it is just like where you are, I think, is really big. And obviously, if it's like a firm jolt, you say sorry. But I think even in those scenarios, I think an excuse me or I didn't mean to do that kind of just holds more weight for you and the other person. If they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, what? Then you could be like, no, I'm sorry. But on like a one-off, I think in the practice of what we're trying to do with eliminating unnecessary sorries is even in those scenarios, try to come up with something that feels a little bit more true. So what's my point in all of this? The point is our words matter. Our words carry so much weight, and they help share our story and that inside bit of what's going on. We're already put down in society, just in general. I mean, everyone experiences this in some ways, but I think for women a lot, and especially in advocating for yourself, and especially in my experience in relationships, saying sorry takes away your power. You are so powerful, you don't even know it. Like, we don't even, like, our brains aren't even operating on full capacity. Like, we're not operating in the full how powerfulness that we actually are. Imagine if we were. And I think a big way to achieve that is by switching up our language. And you are meant to be where you are. You are meant to be speaking in that room. You are meant to be sharing those thoughts. Do so confidently. Deal with that uncomfortable feeling. And like anything, it's like a muscle, the I'm not sorry muscle, because the more you use other phrases, like, yes, you can feel weird about it. It does, though, get easier, in my opinion, in my experience, because you start to recognize that panic that you're feeling when you're like, oh my gosh, I was way too bold or brave there. Really, what it is a fear that something bad is going to happen to you. And so that's why saying sorry feels so comfortable, is because it kind of keeps a little security blanket on you. And when you take that security blanket off, where someone could come at something you say without you giving a preordained disclaimer to it, it actually can feel so scary. But once you realize walking out a little bit further from your comfort zone doesn't mean you're going to die, or doesn't mean you're going to be attacked. And you're still yourself, you're still taking your old self with you, like, that's powerful, because that muscle's getting stronger and you're working it and you're working it and you're getting further and further out there, where you're able to then learn when you do feel that feeling of, oh no, like, can I self-advocate? Can I stand up for myself here? You can. And you can do it without apologizing for the way that you feel. Apologize for your actions that are hurtful, but don't apologize for how you feel. Don't apologize for what you're thinking. That's big. You are meant to be in this space. You're here for a reason. There's no one else like you. Don't apologize for it. This episode was produced by The Anthology Group.